Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Meelas, an Abu Dhabi Wargaming podcast. The Meelas Podcast is hosted by me, Simon, and alongside me is Ibrahim. Salaam alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
And we are watched over in our hobby journeys, as ever, by the 4 cats of the Meelas, of whom one of them is sleeping on a laptop bag right next to us.
Yes, he is. Megatron loves his bags and boxes.
If I fits, I sits.
Exactly. That's the Megatron way. We want to also thank everyone for their comments and inputs on the last episode, which really helped us identify what we can do better regarding the podcast. So what we did was basically upgrade our setup, which is, our first go was just a trial. And now that we see that some are interested in it, so we said, why not invest in it? And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We have been steadily growing our wargaming community in our little corner of Abu Dhabi, and we just really want to highlight it with this podcast. So to find out more, visit our Instagram at ad.wargaming. Come and give us a follow and drop us a DM if you're interested in attending. Right now, though, we have our karak and our Arabic coffee. So let's get into it with our first topic, which is going to be what got played at the Meelas last week.
Oof.
We had a bustling Meelas this weekend, didn't we? I mean, what was on the gaming tables?
Man, we had probably the highest number of games played in one day and attendees, actually. We did reach 14 attendees on Saturday. The games that were played, me and Zaheen started with Dropfleet. It was completely new to both of us. Literally had no idea what we were doing. So we basically spent all of our time reading the rule book. But for a first timer playing a game and neither of us really played it or had any idea what it was, 3 hours was amazing.
Nice.
And honestly, the game was really epic. I've always wanted a spaceship battle game, a Gothic Armada, but I guess we got Gothic Armada at home now.
It's a little bit Timu Battlefield Gothic, isn't it?
I mean, it's Andy Chambers, it's the same guy. It has a lot of, you can see the bones being the same as Gothic Armada. Yeah, of course, I read Gothic Armada rules, but not the game I was supposed to be playing. And I see a lot of similarities between them, especially in the command systems, where whenever you activate something, you do a specific command. At first, it was very intimidating, seeing like 6 commands. How am I gonna ever remember these? But by the second turn, you're like, okay. They all just make sense. Like max thrust, move double. Like that's it. Repair, remove 1 wound. Like it's very obvious. It doesn't focus really much on. I mean, the objectives are mainly on cities. It's not like you have a weird thing in space.
You're kind of in low Earth orbit doing stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a really nice touch. But yeah, I loved it. Maybe too much. Like scarily too much.
What were your factions you were playing? Because you looked like bits out of a hi-fi system, and Zaheen's looked a little bit like Republic Star Wars ships.
So Zaheen was playing the Resistance, which is, not to get too much into the lore, but basically there was an alien race that took over Earth, and the core worlds had to fight the Scourge, which was the alien force, and the Colonial escaped and closed all ways to them, leaving the core worlds to basically fend for themselves. 200 years, they become the Resistance, and they spend the whole time fighting the Scourge. So they end up with like really old and refurnished ships. Like some were obviously used for mining, transportation, and they had to refit it for fighting. So that was Zaheen's faction. I was playing the Bioficers, basically just ChatGPT in space. They're just AI, and they're the Orky AI,
Okay, AI.
which is weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure that goes together.
Because what they do is they just see the most fitting races in the galaxy, and then they fight them. That's it. That's their whole thing. So if they don't see you as, like worth fighting, they wouldn't care about you. But if they see you as worth fighting,
I can say, okay, I get that. That kind of on that theme of
Yeah.
worthy opponents. Yeah.
like going for the battle and stuff. Yeah, but I don't know, man. Every time I start a new game, I end up with the stealthy faction, which is not really my playstyle. Like that's what I did with Infinity. I started with Haq Islam Assassins, and that's not my playstyle. And now I also accidentally started the same thing, and they were very stealthy, but it's very cinematic. After we finished, we were talking about how it felt like a sci-fi novel, and yeah, I would definitely really recommend it, especially if you're into like spaceships, Gothic Armada. It's more accessible right now. You had your first Infinity game.
Yeah, first proper Infinity game, because
Yeah.
I'd done the Sand Trap, like 3 versus 3,
Yes.
as a kind of, this is the basic mechanics.
Yeah.
And then, so this was a 150-point game with a little bit of everything. So a bit of hacking, a bit of a repeater, objectives, pressing buttons, quarter control of the board. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's one of those interesting to see how the reactions work when you can't see anybody
Mhm.
and you can just move freely. But as soon as somebody sees you, then that's when you can start being shot and being dodged against and all these various things. And I had my military orders, figuring out how they worked. And Jagosh was playing his Star Marder with the big tag thing, the enormous dreadnought equivalent, I guess,
Yep.
for Infinity. And it was just a case of, this is how this works, see how that goes. This mechanic works this way. This is how hacking works. Take your little bulleteer drone, yeet it up the board, and then hack through it. But while you're also attempting to be hacked as an arrow, because once you're in range of another hacker, they can detect it and like attack your antenna back. And things like it was very interesting. It was one of those very easy to lose the positions of things, because like there's times when you'd move somebody and go, haha, this guy can see you. And you'd be like, what? Oh, he was hiding, but boy, yeah, Yoda, you know. It was just one of those. And that happened both ways. So there's times when Jagosh moved a model and I was like, oh, this guy can see him. And he went, what? Because you got to have the full 360 view of the board, which looked great because it was tons of terrain compared to even Necromunda or those kind of skirmish games. So much terrain to hide behind, get into cover, move around, get those defensive bonuses, suppressive fire. Tried to hack the tag and immobilized it, and then tried to blow it up with demolition charges and failed miserably. The D20 system is kind of lethal when you crit. I need 14s and I've rolled actually 14, so I've crit and you're in trouble. That 5% chance of something going horribly wrong or horribly right is very D&D for me, but it's a little bit Price is Right of having to meet the number but not go over.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I found that fun. I definitely play it again. I think I'd won a few more at 150 points before looking at 300 because there was more than enough orders, things to be aware of, people to look out for.
How many orders did you have?
8. I had 7 models, but the lieutenant gave an additional one.
The lieutenant order.
He was a +1 lieutenant knight commander. But it was fun to see the low point value models that you're just trying to waste your opponent's orders on. So my first turn was like, I killed 2 guys. And it's like, yeah, they're worth nothing. There was a Warcom and something else, and they're just ordinary guys who just happened to be standing there. Oh, well, I've still killed 2 guys.
It counts. It
did count. And ended up, the score was 6-4 to Jagosh. But there was a lot of, how can we put it? Generous interpretations of some rules.
But like the thing about Infinity is the higher the point cost, you can, for example, play 15 models in a 150 point. So you're not really restricted. It's just you get the more fun toys in the 300 points.
Yeah, that's true. Like this tag was like 70 points or something.
Yeah, it's the whole.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the tag, I was like, what is happening? This is a 150 point?
And it's to show me what rolling 5 dice at me is like and things to avoid, you know.
I think he just wanted to flex on that model.
Yeah, when he split his fire and I suppressive fired back with a guy who had set up and wounded him and like, oh, this could work. And then narrator, it did not, in fact. No, I will definitely play that again. Even with the same force, I maybe wouldn't really consider tweaking it at 150 points because it's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
It had the hidden deployment guy, Brother Konstantinos. It had the hacker. It had an engineer. It had a paramedic and somebody with a heavy rocket launcher. Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, you just get used to that, like what you're playing right now, And then once you feel comfortable on expanding that list, it's easier to learn. I believe learning games should be like stepping stones rather than flooding you with information, because then for some people it might discourage them from even continuing or touching that game again. In some cases, they would, giving them the full experience day one would really push them off the game. Like they'll see it as too much. Yeah, I think shout out to Sahel for hating the hell out of Infinity because of our first game. He'd always tell you, Aro, 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 Aro. Like, what is this game? Like, I can't even move. Like, I'm only getting shot. What am I playing? Yeah, but
Whereas for me, it's about understanding the process and the order step that you're making, that this happens and this happens and this happens. And so then that gives me the opportunity to go, okay, I have moved here, but in future I could have done this or could have done that. But for now, I'm just doing it this way because that's simple. And that's how I teach Blood Bowl. That's how I teach Heresy at like low levels of pick 500 points, 1,000 points max, and say, here are some units and this is how they interact. And this is the way the game works. It gets more complicated because you have 600 special rules, or you have multiple wounds, or you have extra deployments or whatever. But you give that basic framework of how something works and then say, if you like this, we can go more in depth later. But for now, you can just roll some dice, move some things around, and still get the essence of the game.
But I think that I remember a couple of the guys that come to the Meelas now, like they're completely new to wargaming. Some never even heard of what is a wargame to begin with, or a tabletop game. Like we have, I mean, I remember Khalid when his first visit, he walked in, and we were just starting an Infinity game, and I was like, "Yeah, join us." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, you should play this game." I was like, "What game? What is this?" I was like, "Yeah, just do it." And then I think he enjoyed it so much. He's
got his
one of
Eugene
the
now,
core.
isn't he?
Yeah, he's an OG Infinity player right now.
The thing is, Khalid only comes for the cats to
Yes,
begin with.
that
Now he
was-
comes from
Yes.
Infinity and cats.
No, for cats and sometimes Infinity. The cats have to be the priority. Abdullah also, another newcomer to the Meelas, has also been playing a couple of Infinity tutorials. Played one full game of 150 points, and he just got his Castral Colonial Force Army that he'll be working on the next few weeks.
Shout out to another Pano.
Yeah, Pano. Yeah, the Pano gang is rising. We had no Pano players 2 weeks ago, and now we have 2. Technically, Herbie was also supposed to be playing Pano. This is just stray on him so that he can maybe join us at some point.
That's the wonders of a podcast. You can just drop the T on people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just flinging names, just dropping names right and left. I think from these experiences, I learned that learning new tabletop games is fun, but also teaching it is its own hobby.
It is.
Yeah. Especially like, I mean, I don't want to say corrupting, but getting people into this hobby is also another kind of
Converting,
converting, preaching,
expanding the cult.
expanding the cult is probably one way to call it. Yeah, the more the merrier.
Indeed. So what else was that? There was a game of Star Wars Shatterpoint that Dima demonstrated for Adam.
Yep.
I kept hearing updates from Adam like it was a football game. He's like, I've wounded Obi-Wan. And then, oh no, Darth Maul's back in it.
It looked fun. The terrain looked nice.
Yeah.
The scale is a bit bigger than most other war games I've seen. I didn't really catch anything from Shatterpoint or how it plays. It looked fun. The terrain looked nice. For me, sometimes that's enough.
Yeah, and the minis are screen accurate. That's the whole point.
They're very. Yeah. You were trying to escape that.
I was, because Dina was using the Hello There
Obi-Wan
pack of Obi-Wan and Commander Cody from the Clone Wars, and for me that Obi-Wan armor set with the kind of the shoulders, that's my favorite armor set in all of Star Wars, and I would just be like, I'd just play that guy.
Yeah,
don't show me that guy. I'll resist anything but temptation. Don't show me.
Yeah, I feel you.
But there was one other game that we played to make it a total of 4 for the weekend, which was really good, which was Adam and Said were playing Heresy. That was a couple of 1,000 points. Adam's Mechanicum versus Said's Iron Hands. Adam's been slowly refining his Mechanicum after playing me for many, many games and wondering why they don't work properly, then realizing he's missing half the rules, and then looked at a battle report and thought, why do they all use loads of Castellax? I'm only using 2. And then decided that loads of Castellax is the way forward, because it probably is. So he was setting up his gun line against Said's, basically the Death Star party bus of a Spartan with like 10 Terminators and a Praetor or something in there, and not a lot else. Like there were some breaches, there was a massive Kratos, which returned fire and blanked Adam's tank in the first shot. Like when Adam said, "Oh, I'm shooting at the Kratos," and I kind of looked up, and Levi as well looked up and went, "Why are you shooting the Kratos?" And Said says, "Yeah, and he can return fire with his melter cannon because he's got the Decurion Locus upgrade." And Adam was like, "A what now?" And 1 shot later, and there's no more tank on the Mechanicum side. That was
yes, I shoot the exact tank that can kill me.
exactly. But yeah, it was good to see another Heresy game. To fit all 4 games in across the 2 tables in one afternoon, evening, was really cool. It was really nice to see that level of action and
activity, and
at the same time as we had 6 or 7 people hobbying as well.
We were like a horde this time, mashallah.
It was great.
But
that's why we had to order 7,000 shawarmas.
After just can't even breathe at that.
No, I needed a coma, food coma. But part of the appeal of visiting the Meelas, not just for the shawarma, is coming here to hobby, and there was tons of hobby, as we just said, going on. So what are you building and painting at the moment?
Well, I am back to the Heresy, but the complete other side. So finally not a traitor.
Finally not a traitor. You're finally picking up a loyalist force.
The loyalist of loyalists.
The most loyalist.
You can't be more loyalist than a custody. Yeah. They're awesome to build. They've been great.
Except
the mold lines.
The mold lines, yeah.
The problem is, after going through other kits, plastic models from other companies, and you look at the mold lines, they could have probably placed them more strategically. That's all about design. That's the only thing that I don't like about them. Otherwise, they basically are built like Primaris Marines. Exactly that. The torsos, 2 pits, 2 legs, 2 arms, done. That's it. And the head, of course. That's the basics of it. But what takes each model a while to build is just cleaning of the mold lines. Because some are positioned in ways that are very annoying. Like it would go between the feet and then a bit up, then left, and I don't know how to explain it, but that wasn't fun to do. But the models are gorgeous, and the way that the gaps, they've been doing amazing with that, especially the Mechanicum and local custodies, from my experience at least. They know how to hide the gaps. So whichever the model has some gap in whatever part, the next bit will cover it. So you never have to really fill in those gaps with green stuff or glue putty or whatever. And that I'll give them credit for. Building one is as easy as building a Primaris, which is really nice.
I found that with the Saturnine bits as well, that yes, they're in 40, 50 pieces each, the Terminators, but actually all the bits are covered by something else. So there was almost no mold lines on those to think about. I think their digital design and the way they're cutting them up and putting them on the sprues is getting better and better and better all the time. But at least there's no mold lines directly down a plasma coil. Because what I was hobbying this week was both me and Levi were doing our Saturnine Dreadnoughts. Him for Thousand Suns and me for my Space Wolves.
Yes.
And finally, the Dreadnought is complete.
Nice.
So I can move on to the next thing.
You did amazing on that Saturnine Dreadnought. The stance you did was awesome.
He's straight into my top 5 of my favorite painted miniatures in terms of quality, and he was also a lot of fun to paint as well. There was a lot of detail in terms of the Graviton Crusher, whichever the one I painted with the green globe glowy effects. That was a lot of detail. There's lots of wires and lots of bits and bobs on it. But in terms of the whole model, I'm in terms of best models I've ever painted, straight in near the top of the charts.
I really love those weapons on the Saturnine. they look like they're supposed to be covered, but they're not, which is very industrial, and I love that. Like it's
Yeah, they're fresh off the production line.
just
Vulcan's just giving you the specs, make it, off you go.
exactly.
There's not all that time to customize it
and
and
just cover it with the nice stuff. No, just get to the point. Yeah,
some proper nocturne engineering.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I also did some printing for some bits for my Custodes Dreadnought. It's like a little ruin that I want to stance the Dreadnought around. Either him stepping on it or maybe grabbing it or something like that. Should be fun. Now that I learned how to print these stuff like much easier and in a better quality, especially like for the basing stuff, you're gonna cover it in texture later, so it doesn't matter.
So that's the FDM, yeah?
Yeah, that's FDM. That's something we also do. Printing. We've been trying to get into the hobby.
Mostly for terrain, isn't it? It's
Mostly
not in terms of like printing
No.
out minis, but it's more about the big pieces. When we look around, we've got kind of the observatory and the cathedral and the castle walls and the halo looking stuff we've painted silver as well. Like it's really a good way of kind of churning it out.
I mean, yeah, we've only printed terrain, and like this is something I'm just experimenting on, like seeing how it works. But they look good on the bases, so we'll see how they look primed and painted.
We had a few other people hobbying as well. Hassan was doing his terrain for Age of Sigmar. He was painting that. I think he's finished painting his rock and was on.
Oh yeah, he did finish his rock. Yeah, finally.
Was on to some kind of bell tower. Suhail was doing his Krieg.
Yes.
Just how can you do 20 Krieg as fast as possible?
20? He was like doing 70, maybe 80.
There's 70 or 80 in the whole set.
Yes,
I know that much, but just throwing blue contrast on them to give them kind of French feel.
Which is amazing. I did not think that would work, but
no,
he nailed it. Nice. It works.
I can't wait to see all the little details, the little metallic bits, the kind of the tan gas masks, and just kind of see where they get to. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, he's been going really hard into the Krieg, and he should be adding even, I think he's doing tanks next, more horses, artillery as well.
That's the way.
That's the Krieg way.
Yeah, that's the way the army works.
Yeah.
And he might even double up on that for heresy.
Yeah, use it as militia. Yeah,
militia attached to his imperial fists.
Yeah, just gets removed, dies from movement or
a stiff breeze. I'm sorry, I'm refusing.
Yeah, roll your saves. Why? I moved in your general direction. That's a militia way.
As well as that, we also had Tyler, who was painting one of his Tyranids.
Oh, yeah.
And he's only been in the hobby for a few months, so it's really interesting to see how he's coming along and kind of learning techniques and kind of giving him a couple of pointers for, if you use this wash or you highlight it this way, or this is how you can get a nice clean basing effect. And just, it's really interesting to see him going that way. And
we also had Abdullah painting for the first time.
Yeah, Abdullah's Orc Trooper was really good for
first model.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we all give him some tips on using contrast, and then we kept asking him like, so what do you want to do next? Like, want to like make it do it the easy way or the hard way? And then he went like, okay, let's do the hard way and just find out, like, stretch his skills to begin with. And blah, 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 he did amazing with those highlights, with those metallics.
The yellow like knee pads and stuff he did on that Orc Trooper were really good.
Yeah, he's very blue and yellow, which is I think
almost like Jagosh's Starmada, which are blue and magenta and yellow.
Yes, which of the lenses are actually magenta. So.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so it's just Starmada. It's an Orc Starmada, I guess. So, yeah.
But Jagosh's Disco Police are coming along nicely. Those like little drone bot things.
Yeah, his little droids or whatever, the bots.
Yeah,
he was working on for. I know he hates them, but he's been doing amazing work with them.
Yeah, and they're going for a competition, I believe, a painting contest, or like a squad. So they're coming along really nicely. And it's fun to face them as well.
Yeah, I bet.
And just see this bright pink and blue, robot on the field.
It's always nice to face like painted armies, because it adds more character to the table, rather than just a sea of grey. No shame or on that, but it looks nicer, especially when the terrain is all like painted. I mean, for me, for example, Heresy, I wouldn't play with an unpainted army, and while the custodies are not very kit bashable, but still there are some things you can do about them to make them yours. And I don't think I'm gonna play them until I have them all finished and painted.
I think we all like to play with painted minis because that kind of cohesiveness. But I'm not against like, oh, I've just bought this unit, I've just undercoated this unit, and I would like to use them this time. So rather than have to wait until they're done, let's just throw them in. That's fine. That never bothers me at all.
Yeah.
For my Space Wolves, I'm doing the opposite, in which I'm waiting for everything to be fully painted and then be like, right, here they go. And they can all suffer from freshly painted model syndrome and be taken off turn 1. That's fine. What happens. But
just test them out and see what happens.
Yeah.
By the end. Yes. See, that was always. I mean, I meant that like like my armies. You know, when I put my armies on the table, I like them to be fully painted. The only exception I did for that was Infinity, because like for Infinity you want to spend as much time as you can.
Yeah, there's 15 character models really.
Yeah, and
even the basic guys.
Honestly, I've probably spent more time painting those 3 models than I've on multiple armies.
But those Morats do look lovely. The main monkey man with the big sword and all the abs and stuff. He looks.
No, that's not even a main guy. That's just a staff.
He looks cool. He looks like a leader.
It's the sword up and the rock.
He's got the Warhammer squad leader
exactly
like pose,
yeah.
even if he is just a mook.
Yeah, he just runs, he dies, and he does his best. But he does have
Don't we all
the characteristics of a Warhammer main character guy
in an ordinary like
just an ordinary
NPC or
just another witch warrior or whatever that's called. But yeah.
But let's move on to our main topic for this episode, which is Warhammer : the Horus Heresy : Age of Darkness : Saturnine, or as we like to call it, Heresy or 30K. For me, this is like my main game since I've been coming to the Meelas. It's the reason I came to the Meelas in the first place, which was to play you in our little tournament. Yeah. So how did you first get into Heresy?
You won't like this one.
Drop the law. Do it.
So, it was 2019. I just, I think it was my last semester in uni. And for a while before that, I was constantly watching Outer Circle.
I don't mind Outer Circle from like first and halfway through second edition.
Yeah.
Because he was very enthusiastic, particularly about Thousand Suns, and I learned a lot from Outer Circle. Yeah. I think he ended up complaining and griping more often than providing like informative, helpful content, and that's not what I want to listen to. So fair play to him and his channel, but for me it was a kind of, I want a positive hobby experience.
Yeah, for me it was him that got me into the Heresy, and honestly it was also the decline of 40k, and it felt like it was becoming too gamey, to becoming a bit flat. So that's when I was already was way into the Heresy. The first few books I read in Warhammer were Heresy, so it was just natural for me to go down that route. I started in the first edition Heresy with my Iron Warriors, but it was literally at the end. I just played one game of the first edition. I was like, what the hell is going on? Literally had no idea what was happening.
And you picked up an army that was sit back and shoot generally, lots of tanks,
which is
not your style of,
as I do,
put your head down, charge.
It's always,
she didn't accidentally pick up like Alpha Legion or Night Lords or something,
which I almost did the second time around.
Accidentally plays stealth, but instead plays more like an orc. Yeah,
whenever I start a game, it's always going to be the faction that it's not my playstyle. So so that was 1.0. I started with Iron Warriors, painted the whole thing for 2.0, and then they came out with the new stuff, the cooler, better scaled Space Marines, and I was like, man, you know what would be cool? An Alpha Legion army. So I spent so much time converting and painting up those Alpha Legion and Mark 6. I had that Contemptor, the Alpha Legion Contemptor. It was gorgeous. Figured out the perfect turquoise for them. And then a few weeks in, I was like, oh,
this is not how I want to play.
This is not how I play. I can't play like this. It's not like I don't want to. It's too mental energy for me to play the sneaky guy. So I had to give them away. I couldn't. I still loved that scheme.
You couldn't just deal with Alfarius and his boys.
No, I wish I could.
And that's where the World Eaters came from.
Yes, sir. I
And
was like, okay, what's the exact opposite of that?
yeah.
World Eaters. But they don't fit in Mark 6. So what to do? Went
Well-
all in Tortuga.
All in
All in Tortuga.
all in third party.
Yes, sir.
And that's where I come in.
Yes.
Because you were my first, I say competitive game that wasn't just a learning experience. To come to the Meelas and have a couple of thousand points, I think it was. Now, I've always, from the very beginning of my interaction with 40k, been into the heresy. Like, it was when I read Bill King's Siege of Terror story in White Dwarf 161, and that was like, oh, this is my thing now. There was a clamor on the wall as the Blood Angels arrived. Yeah, that's my thing. Those are my boys. Immediately, I don't know who they are, but those are my boys. That's what actually got me into 40k 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'd always wanted to do a pre-heresy Thousand Sons force. I always liked that red and white scheme, the kind of Egyptian vibes, and not being corrupted chaos, blue and gold, dusty guys. And I remember 15 or so years ago, maybe 20 even, I was looking at how would I get all the various custom bits to build that force that looks right. And I worked out, because this is before the time of 3D printing, before large-scale third-party resin makers. And I'd worked out it would be something like £100 or 500 dirhams to have like a 5-man squad with all these custom bits. And I just thought, I'll never own that in my life. I'll never do that. And once I'd bounced off 10th edition 40k in 2023, I was just wandering through Back to Games in Abu Dhabi Mall and saw Ahriman in his little box on the shelf and thought, oh, yeah, let me paint this guy. And so I tried to paint him up box art style, which is very unusual for me. I always like to pick my own color schemes or my own take on stuff, but I thought, no, let me try and copy the box art. And after I painted him, I thought, nice, so heresy is a thing. And then jump into the heresy group and then see what's going on, start to learn the game, pick up the box set. So my Thousand Sons are all Mark 6, pretty much. And yeah, that's how I got that way.
I remember you had a really nice, awesome background for your Thousand Sons.
Thank you. The Thousand Sons book by Graham McNeil tells the story of how the Thousand Sons got invaded by the Space Wolves. And in the Black Book relevant to that, it lists which of the 9 fellowships were on Prospero at the time. And the 4th fellowship was sent away for reasons unknown. And I was like, ooh, there's the thread. What happens to them? Who knows? And then it turns out Chris Raitt, who is an amazing writer, wrote a short story called Rebirth, which was where the 4th fellowship, 6 months out of being sent away, goes, what the hell is going on? And comes back to Prospero, gets attacked on the way, has no idea. And the captain and one of his librarian sergeants, who turns out to be very important, come down to Prospero and end up getting attacked. And it's just a very interesting story. And I thought, ooh, what happens in between those points? And that's where that force came from, of that 6 or so months of still being loyalists because they don't know about the heresy, they don't know about Prospero, being attacked by everybody, right, left, and center, because even loyalist forces attack them because they think that the Thousand Sons are traitors at that point. Allows me to play in that realm of, are they good guys, are they bad guys? There's a couple of named characters I can use as my generic praetor, my generic librarian. And yeah, just that's how I like to play with force backgrounds, of finding a hole in the lore somewhere and going, how do I fill that and tell a story of half a line at the end of a paragraph that nobody else pays attention to? That's just the way I like interacting with it.
I think you did the approach of doing heresy armies the way it's supposed to be done. Like, that's the peak of heresy. Building a legion because it's cool is also nice, but filling that blank page with your own narrative, with your own insert, is, I think, the core of what the heresy is about. Because, it's not just about, let's get Mark 6s and 4s or whatever, and then paint them as is. It's also the kit bashing, the personalization of it, the adding the background for your force. It's a lot of stuff that sadly can't be found in other systems. I'm not to throw shade at other systems, but that's what I love about Heresy. That's what I did with my World Eaters. Not exactly as awesome and detailed as yours, but I had something in mind that kind of filled in a blank part of the transition between the red and blue.
Yeah, because some of your guys, the more likely they are to chop somebody in the face, the more red they have on them,
Exactly. Yeah.
and the less blue.
Yes.
And that's a very simple theming of the most aggressive are covered in red, and the least aggressive are not.
Yeah.
And this is how they go along that process to being
fully red,
white and red before they go all red.
That was fun to do. I would always encourage anyone that's getting into the heresy to maybe think about that as well. It's so entertaining going through different websites. And now you have resin printing, which makes customizing bits so much easier and more fun. And doing your own force is always amazing. I remember you did Mark 6 for a specific reason.
So the meta reason is that I had a lot of Mark 6 and there wasn't the opportunity to pick up other marks particularly easily yet. But the whole point of it is, who says they couldn't have come across some?
Yeah.
Or Magnus accidentally guided them on purpose to a storage facility where it's just a whole bunch of brand new Mark 6 armors. And like, oh, this must be for us. Or did they steal it? Did they scrounge it? Did they, take it off somebody else? Did they, whatever the reason, they were all in Mark 6 and I kept them all in Mark 6. My Blood Angels Siege of Terror Force is Mark 6 and a little bit of 7 because now it's been retconned that you can have 7 for those forces at the siege. My Space Wolves are all Mark 2, partly because that's the Age of Darkness Saturnine box set, but also because it suits them. It's early on in the heresy. And it just looks right, feels right. There's a story around it, even if it might not be exactly in line with the lore that it currently is. There's plenty of room for
linking,
came across, discovered, stole, that kind of thing.
I think that's what I did with my World Eaters as well. When I was working on them, I initially thought I want them to be mostly Mark II, so that it just shows that Horus didn't really care about the World Eaters and just use them as fodder. And so why equip them with the new stuff? Just give them whatever and then they're gonna be okay with it anyway. So they were covered in Mark II. I think my champions had Mark V, and it was just a mishmash of different armor types, plus the OG Mark V chest. And all my World Eaters are Tortuga, except Karn, which is just Karn. My Dreadnoughts are just Dreadnoughts. Those were fun to do. Really, lots of fun to do, the Dreadnoughts. I was supposed to make a Dreadnought after our game when that guy went to the objective, but he never came back. That was really fun as well. Those inputting those games back into your army as stories, because you also had the World Eater.
So to reference that, in the game that we played, it was a simple objective taking opportunity, and you moved a tactical squad somewhere I wasn't expecting to take a different objective that I was going to go after, but I couldn't take the objective I thought you were going to take. And so that meant that from that point on, I could only draw the game, particularly in terms of objectives. And I kind of had to fight back to get to the drawing point. But I ended up doing a sweeping advance on that unit. So that sergeant got immortalized in my next time I had a Siren Dreadnought. There is a dead World Eater on the base who's holding the tactical readout pad, and there's a little green dot that represents the objective he had to take, which he took, but then died for. So my Siren is kind of standing half on him in victory. That World Eater is there specifically as a kind of homage to the game we played, and that particular tactical move you made that won that game had to go down as let me take this guy and mold that into the story.
I think we mentioned this in last episode about Baden's campaign. I love those. I really love those. That's what made me want to play Heresy again, honestly. I like when there's a narrative around it, and it really encourages me to start thinking about what armies I want to have, how to include them. Like right now, I'm still cooking something for the Custodes, but I'll keep it a surprise, maybe.
I look forward to it.
That's for the best.
I think that the campaign that Baden ran for 2nd edition, which was basically loyalists versus traitors on 2 separate sides, and the loyalists did not win a single game, mostly because I think we were mostly newer players to the system who took the loyalists, and we often had just the Age of Darkness box set, so didn't have quite an optimized army yet, and we kind of slowly added the units, added the Apothecary, added the Death Star unit, added the Terminators as you kind of went along to get there. And I think that campaign really solidified me as a Heresy player. And I'm really excited to play this 3rd edition version of that, because it's a little bit more free in terms of just pick an opponent and see what happens. And also Baden's thrown in some mechanics that feel very kind of Blood Bowl-y for me in terms of taking non-unique Centurions and Consul level characters and being able to upgrade them with either stat boosts or special skills based on the experience points that they get for doing various things in a game. And that helps you tell those stories and helps you make those individual character models even more important to you as they make the decisions of how you're going to hide him, where is he going to charge, who's he going to challenge, etc. I'm really looking forward to this when we get started. And I can't decide whether I'm going to use my Blood Angels or my Space Wolves or both. I think it might be worth nominating 3 characters, and there would be 2 Blood Angels and a Space Wolf just to really mess around. We'll see how it goes, but I'm sure the tales of the games and how the campaign's going is going to be something we'll be talking about on the Meelas podcast to come.
You're reminding me I need to rush a bit my army. I'm building them now. I'm just building like 30 models for like 3k points, which is hardly anything compared to my Solar Exodia. I remember just doing the math, and
like my Space Wolves are 75 models for 3,000 points.
It's just 2 guys. Custodies. It's just 2 guys. Guys or girls, I guess. Not to be.
Hey, that's lore appropriate.
Yeah, that's the lore appropriate one.
But yeah, you like built 3 guys and went, here's 100, like 200 points. I'm like, that's a tactical squad.
Exactly.
And honestly, with a full tactical squad against 3 Custodies, I'd be on the side of the Custodies.
Yeah, like I built so far on only the shielded guys. I can't remember their names, and I did the Tribune, and they've been fun to build and paint, as we mentioned before. I mean, I haven't painted them yet, but I have something in mind. I was just scrolling through reels and saw that scheme. I was like, man, turquoise and gold. I'm sold. That's all I need to see.
Yeah, it was really weird. I'm sure it's just the way the algorithm works that you sent me the reel of what you wanted to do, a kind of very verdigris kind of statue type of model. And really literally later the same day, the actual video popped up in my YouTube feed 3 hours later. And that was Spen's painting.
Amazing scheme. That scheme made me just, okay. And 5 minutes later, I have a full Custodes army. The list is ready. The cart is full.
Yeah.
The money is paid. The shipment is set. Literally, it shipped the same day and arrived yesterday.
Element Games really wanted you to have this.
Like they really needed me to have it. And I've built half of the boxes already. So I only have the other half, which is just the spears and the dreadnought left.
It's only like 4 colors on this whole scheme as well.
Yeah, that's it. It's amazing.
A verdigrised up bronze statue type armor.
Exactly. And like everything else is in like this rubber black. It looks gorgeous. And the way he used the liquid pigments is amazing as well. Really loved it. Of course, his basing and techniques are stunning compared to what I'll do.
They will still look lovely, I'm sure. And there's nothing quite like pushing the boat out a bit. Like my Space Wolf bases now are as complicated as I've ever done in terms of getting the kind of ice flat before putting the rocks on it and getting the snow and the frozen tufts, and more than just apply a texture paint and then dry brush it once.
Yeah.
It's getting more and more involved, and like I think my Space Wolves are leagues ahead of my Thousand Suns, who I only painted 2 and a bit years ago, and that's when I started repainting after a long break. So you could always improve, you can always get better, and there's always people around in the Meelas to give you a tip of, oh, I would do it this way, or if I would pick that color.
The thing about, I mean, from my experience in this hobby, is that whenever I do an army, I try to add something that I haven't done before. That's a bit problematic, because every time when I try something new, you have to start a new army. Because I don't like to have an army that's not coherent.
Yep.
Like, I don't, for Infinity, I'm okay with it, because it's a work of passion and love when you put 30 hours in one model. But for my Heresy or Warhammer model armies, if I am gonna try different techniques, I don't mind starting a whole new army, because I don't like to have like different stuff. And for the custodies, I am not really putting much effort in the general scheme, but my plan is to really work on the lenses and little gems. And that will be my kind of thing I want to improve on for this army, is doing reflective diamonds and all of that. Because I'm not just going to stipple them and just call it done. Because that would be, I think that's just too easy. Even for me, who have spent the last 7 years painting with sponges and figured out, oh, you can paint with brushes the last few weeks.
I only paint with brushes. I don't paint with anything else.
What's a brush?
Yeah. Sponges are for special weathering techniques, and that's it for me.
So the whole model?
It's all weathered all the
It's
time.
all weathered, just weathered. Prime white, weathered, done. That was my world eaters, basically.
In terms of Heresy as a game, what is it about Heresy versus other army-sized systems that to you makes it the better option?
So initially I hated it, the detachment. I really didn't like it forcing you to have HQs to open up more slots for detachments.
In terms of the third edition's way of building army.
Yeah.
The second edition was you can have 3 HQs, you can have 3 troops, 3 elites, 3 heavy, 3 fast, and
call it
and mix and match as you go.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, that's why made me stop playing it, is the new list building system. But now it's grown on me, especially when I started using new recruit. I was like, oh, okay, no, this makes sense. Or maybe because I'm playing custodies and it's just like 2 HQs, 2 HQ options, which makes it like so easy to build.
Because even at the beginning, I looked at your World Eaters force and said, you could take this entire force in one primary detachment.
Yeah, it's like, no.
And because you've got enough characters, you've got enough, the split is there, as long as we're using, your rampages as maybe veteran assault squads, perhaps, or, there's a little bit of tiny tweaking or proxying to do, but genuinely all of your models will fit into one single army of however many points it takes. Like you've got 2 of the Khitan demon engines.
Yep.
You can take 2 Lords of War and they go together. Yeah. Boom, done. And they just sits really nicely. But for me, I didn't dislike the attachment building system to begin with. I thought it was very interesting. And I kind of see it as like its own little puzzle mini game. It's so open. That's kind of the problem. I think people look at it and go, how do I build an army? There's so many options. Which detachment do I want? And the question is, which detachment do you want? What do you want to run? Do you want to run Terminators? Do you want to run Elites? Do you want to run tanks? Do you want to run tons of transports, mechanized infantry? What do you want to do? Because you can do it, and it can be at least viable. I mean, maybe not optimized, but a lot of us don't play optimized games.
Yeah. I think it's the way you build. As you said, it's very open, but you can really specialize. And I like that, because for me, it's all about building thematic lists. It doesn't matter what's meta, but what looks like it would make sense. That's why just a bunch of guys with shields and a giant 1 dreadnought, good enough. I could have put 2. I'm gonna keep calling them guys. I know. But that's what I don't know why it's just stuck with me.
Since the very first of the 10,000, there have always been female custodians.
Just say, I really like the building, and you can go really specialized, or you can go bit of everything, and that gives you a lot of freedom in both narrative and gameplay. You want to try flyers, and you want to try tanks, and you want to try some elites. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that in one list. See how it goes, see what you like, and then maybe focus on that thing.
Yeah.
You're not really restricted to, oh yeah, about that, you can't have more than 2. But you need to fill the command slots, but that's not really hard to do now. It would have required a lot of kit bashing in the beginning of the last edition, but now everything is there, and the options to kit bashes are insane now with all the kits that they released, especially the new rapiers. That's a gold mine for kit bashing, especially
Because the 4 guys that come with that box are completely different to anybody else, and they've got
exactly.
there's some crucial like pointing finger arms. There's different knee pads. There's different types of helmets and things.
Different command squads that you have. Just mix it all together, and you're gonna have a really unique unit. And I see them doing the same for custodies, because the way they're built, it shows that they're planning to give them more options in the future. I'm really excited about to see what they do, and the way they're built is very interesting.
Annihilate everything by the sound of things.
Yeah, just
looking at their rules.
Just a nuke. Just a nuke. Just
A focus nuke. But if you keep rolling ones for armor saves, then we'll take you down eventually.
Oh, you reminded me. What the first time I played against custodies was Mohammed Al Hashmi. Shout out to Mohammed Al Hashmi. Amazing guy, really cool to play with. Hope to see him again in the Meelas. We were playing 40k, and he was playing custodies. I was playing Death Guard. His Contemptor Dreadnought charges into my tank. I think it had like 2 wounds left, and he was rolling, I think, 5 attacks, looking for 2s. He rolled 5 ones.
Yahtzee.
I was like, how does that happen? 5 ones. Never seen it again. Like, he could have annihilated, like, he just needed 2 2s.
Yep.
5 ones. Somehow.
Happens.
Statistically, it happened. But yeah, that was my first time fighting custodies. I can't wait to see what we do with the campaign.
And other people getting into it and maybe picking up their first kind of heresy armies and getting in that way, like a lot of us did for the 2nd edition version.
Yeah, definitely seeing a lot of people interested in it right now. Because it is the fun, really narrative game, and that's what we look into for Warhammer. Like, when we look at Warhammer, well, that's what we see. We see the narrative, we see the story, we see all those amazing books. That and the customization that you have, the units you have. I know some people would say, "Oh yeah, it's just a Marines game." It's not. It really is not.
18 factions are Marines, but
it's one faction with 18 flavors.
That's
see.
You've really spun that the correct way. Because then you got your Mechanicum, then you got your Custodes, your Solar Auxilia, your Demons, and also the Militia.
Sure.
And just mix. I mean, they count, I'm sure.
They're there.
They're there. They're there to be shot.
To die in the movement phase.
There's a lot of them, and there's some big guns they can bring.
Yeah, that's true. You can kill us, but you can't kill us all. That's the whole approach of the militia, which is awesome. I really like that concept.
For me, that's probably one of the best free PDFs GW have ever released. Yeah. That militia, the provenances, I think it is, that you can add up to 2, and the mix and match, and it's clearly designed to be, do you have a random set of models that have got guns? It could be Necromunda, it could be old-fashioned, it could be squats, it could be beastmen, it could be anything.
Yeah.
You can play them with this rule set, and it's for free.
It's a dangerous PDF. It's really dangerous.
To start, yeah.
Because when you read it, and you know the Games Workshop catalog, the ideas that's gonna pop in your head will not stop.
Yeah, I know.
Every time you see a model, I could make a militia out of that.
In fact, Gene Stealer cults could be a militia force. I think some of the vehicles specifically referenced in the militia army list are talking about the GSC ones. There's clearly, if you want to play a Gene Stealer cult, you can work that into militia. If you want to play Penal Legion, if you want to play malformed Chaos Beastmen type thing.
Yeah, like specifically the new Beastmen for Kill Team. Those are just
Yeah.
made for a heresy. Beastmen Militia Army. Traitor Guards are also new now. They have a proper set for the new Red Corsairs. That's the perfect set for a Traitor Militia Army. So you know who you are. You know you want to start a Traitor Militia. You're already halfway there. He knows himself.
I mean, it's just great.
So,
And as a game itself, I find the latest edition of Heresy overall better. I find that the rules have, despite the huge amount of legalese they're written in, and it's tough to pass, once you have actually read it, it's actually very clear and simple and outlines what you need to do. It elucidates it better than previous editions, but you have to wade through it to get there.
Yeah, I think that's most modern war games, but there's also like word bloat, which is why I like when like third party rules come out as well, like the same rule book but just like slimmed down, easier to read, easier to consume. Because my brain, when you give me that huge blob of text, I mean, when you're playing and reading it, it makes sense because so what happens if this happens?
You have to go step by step, whether it's challenges, whether it's setting up the game. That if you just follow it through, it works perfectly. When that one time comes up where you don't know how one rule interacts with another, it can be a bit of a pain to read through 3 paragraphs of legalese to find the one sentence you need, but it's clearly defined as this ability can't fire because it's not the right phase. It's actually, we've skipped over that because of this particular situation. And it clarifies much better than previous editions. There's still a few little niggles that it's not quite got to, a few little interactions where they're not quite elucidated correctly, but overall much better in terms of rules queries, and it's easy to find them. I like that they've removed a lot of special rules and just baked that into profiles. So in bolters used to be 1 shot, 2 shots within 12, 3rd shot if you're a legionary standing on an objective.
Idling.
Now it's just 2 shots plus 1 for sitting there. And that's it. It's baked in. There's no having to look up what something is. It's because it's just in the stat pile. And they've done that for so many things. Though I do like, one of the other things they did was removing rerolls. Almost completely. I'm not even sure there are any rerolls. Because that's lots of negative play experiences, which could be fun when you did them, but were never fun when they happened to you. Popping a tank with 1 las cannon shot because it wounded on a 6 with the armor pen test, or sweeping advances. You lost this dice roll by 1. I catch you. You're all dead. Things with rerolls that would hit on 2s anyway. And you're like, finally, something missed. Oh, it's got a these kind of things they've taken out. Massed Deep Strike is important to me as a Blood Angels player for 2nd edition, but a turn 2 coin flip of, can I land my forces and annihilate you in close combat versus can you intercept them out this guy first, isn't really the whole way to throw up the end of a contest. So by only having 1 Deep Strike a turn, you are reducing that play style, which is sad for people who relied on 8 drop pods, but I think overall it makes for a better game.
I need to play way more Heresy.
You do. I agree. You should absolutely play more Heresy.
I'm itching for like playing Heresy now, Infinity and Dropfleet, which is a problem.
That's enough games. 3 games is enough.
Yeah, I was aiming to have Infinity as the skirmish game, Heresy as the big battle game, and then the 3rd would be Fantasy. But sadly that did not come through. I don't know, I didn't catch on anything, but yeah, Heresy is definitely on my list of 3.
Maybe we'll stick Fantasy in the RPGs section.
Or Blood Bowl. Does that count as Fantasy?
Yeah, it's Blood Bowl is Fantasy. That's old world.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to building those as well.
So yeah, after our last chat, when I was discussing what Blood Bowl is and how we play it, once we'd finished recording, Ibrahim was like, so does Chaos Dwarfs play Blood Bowl? Like, yeah, these are the models. Like, oh, they're nice. what's being played locally right now? And I'm like,
just spectating, you know.
gotcha.
I really like the Imperial nobility. Yeah, they looked cool. They looked funny. As you said, it's like a silly game. I mean, I was talking to you about it before I tried Dropfleet, but having that variety of game systems that are very different. Like you see now how Heresy is very different than Infinity. Like that's a completely different structure. Just everything is different. And then you have Dropfleet, which is also completely different. And then to even break it more, Blood Bowl, I don't imagine it being anything like those three.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
You're playing on squares. You're moving a number of squares in and out of tackle zones. Yeah, it's a totally different style of game to the other ones.
So that's, I think it wasn't more about having different settings as much as having different systems. Of course, we're talking about fantasy, and now Megatron is trying to open the cabinet to read the One Ring.
Well, I can see there's both One Ring rulebook and Old World up there as well. So maybe he's like pining for Skaven, or
maybe he's trying to pull out the book and join our conversation. But yeah, when I saw Blood Bowl, I was like, I saw your guys playing, and this looks fun. And the models look really fun to paint. Especially that they're so goofy and silly.
Again, there's lots of character to them. They've kept that character. I think the quality of the models has gone up, but I think they've managed to retain a soul to them, which some GW stuff doesn't have anymore. A lot of Blood Bowl teams still retain that character.
Yeah, I was looking through the range and asked you first about the Amazons. It's like, yeah, those looks cool. Those look really cool. But then
they're dodgy humans with no armor. You picked the stealth one again.
See, it's always happening. Like, this time I was like, okay, I need to really study the army before jumping in. To be fair, I did not study Imperial Nobility. I was like, they look funny, they look nice, I want to paint them. But yeah, I almost accidentally picked the other stealthy army for the fourth time. How does this keep happening to me?
I mean, either you've got to learn how to play the big brain game, or you're just gonna punch people in the face.
For Dropfleet, I'm sticking to them. Like, I'm not gonna change the faction just because I suck at it. But from starting Blood Bowl, I'm not starting another stealthy army to begin with. I think that's once I'm done with my custodies, paint them up. I'll always be painting Infinity, but in the middle are my new icebreaker.
Yeah.
Will be definitely Blood Bowl.
A hobby butterfly lands on a different flower again.
Always.
But big question, hobby news this week has been the unboxing and reveal of 11th edition 40k. What did you think of that? I mean, I'm never a massive fan of GW's live streams anyway.
Oh yeah.
But the orcs look gorgeous. I really like them.
Scary good.
The Marines were all done really nicely. I love the chaplain on the jump pack. He's very Blood Angelsy. The captain was a very cool model with the relic shield. All the Marines, with adding in a few like Mark 7 heads and bits and bobs, are really nicely done. But GW doing lovely models in a box set is not anything new. Are we going to be playing the game?
He's so sale. They gave me the orcs. For him, I think we're going to play it.
At least we should at least try it.
Definitely.
Because it's different to the game system that we bounced off of. Whether it's just a case of circles become squares and L-shaped become boxes, I don't know.
Besides that, I hope it's different. They keep emphasizing the narrative aspect of it. I'm not sure how true that is. I hope so. But those orcs are too good to not go for. I think it's the new faces. They look so cool.
Yeah, there's character in them.
Yeah, definitely there is. I think we're gonna play like at least a couple of times, see if we like it, and then maybe start a couple of armies if we do.
That's a big icebreaker if you start a 40k.
Yeah, we will.
The royal we.
I'm infecting everyone with my madness of starting different armies every other week. But I hope it's good. I really hope it's at least. I mean, I know there will be people that like it anyway. It's becoming the Call of Duty of wargaming at this point. But I hope it also feeds into that narrative direction where it's actually about the lore, The games feel thematic. The games feel like you're part of a story. And I think that's something everyone's really thirsty for. And
And having a good rule set at the same time.
yeah, they really fix it. I just hope it's good. Because I really wanted to get back into 40k, but not a big fan of the current edition.
Well, there's always playing 2nd or 3rd edition rules. I mean, you've literally got Rogue Trader rulebook on the shelf.
I'd love to. I genuinely would.
2nd edition is where I started as a small boy, very small boy, and it's a little bit insane compared to what there is now, where a tactical squad is 300 points and a captain is 90.
Yeah.
You still look at the stats and it's move, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, initiative, attacks, which it's all there. They haven't really changed since even 1st edition in terms of that, but just the way the squads work, the way the movement works, how fast you go. Like Marines move 4 inches compared to Heresy, where they're moving 7, is a totally different game.
Yeah. Oh, man, you're putting ideas in my head.
That's what I do.
So, should I say it out loud or
do it? Say it out loud.
Okay. I'm thinking
manifest.
We can play 2nd edition, either finding some really old models or even 3D printing them. And I would love to do some classic orcs, with the weird little...
Although everybody in a 2D pose, because that's how the methods work. Yep.
That with the good old green base.
Like I have on my Blood Angels.
Exactly that. Just retro. I'd love an orc army like that. Another army, another icebreaker. But it's doable. It's not much, but work on them, not just paint them just to get them over with. But actually paint them properly. Rock hobbies. It's that style.
Of her little rascals, vibrant, neon green, everything's got red in it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to Olden Demon, I think, and he was talking about the reason they were doing the painting stuff in that way is because they would be using lights that wouldn't reflect if they painted them on another scheme.
It's a combination of the photography and the print quality of the paper that White Dwarf was printed on, which was not great. There's some White Dwarfs of that era up on the shelf of the Meelas up here, and you can see the stuff from 93, 94 was super contrasty, super vibrant, because it might not have printed well and would have just looked flat and grey. So they had to overdo it on the painting to give you that style.
Yeah.
But still, you could see how vibrant it was. And that's what attracted me first to it at the time. That everything was just bright primary colors.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
See, it's also about the model. I don't know what those models, you see that scheme on them and just makes sense. I would love to paint just the OG orcs in that scheme. Actually, I'll probably look for some stairs. I mean, if you're down, we could. I mean, because I'm not gonna do it alone. If I'm gonna do it alone,
I have to have somebody to
I
play.
have to someone else to to take down with me.
Well, once I've finished my Space Wolves,
you can do it between.
Oh, I can do a little bit in between. Yeah, it's the icebreaker for those 25 Grey Slayers that I need.
So, what would you paint if you were to paint?
I would do Eldar.
Ooh.
Because I've done enough Space Marines in my life.
Yes.
My Heresy Blood Angels are the midlife crisis that makes my inner 11-year-old happy. Because that style of Blood Angel that I've painted, which is very vibrant, almost orange, on a goblin green base with grass, is... I've kind of tried to update that style to fit with Heresy, but still be overly vibrant and still be bright green and still work in the same way, but not look out of place when other people have got everything slathered in mud and weathering and chipping. It still looks pristine, but in the same universe.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I wouldn't want to do that again, whether it's Ultramarines or the sky blue, violet-y almost Space Wolf style that was very early 40k. I think I want to go Eldar.
Which scheme?
I think Bieltan is where I'd look at. I love the green. I love the thorns. The ability to just put random little flowers on
Yeah.
these things, and the heart in the Ankh logo, it just appeals to me
Yeah.
all the time.
That's the thing about starting these projects, is that you will kind of go out of your comfort zone. And me, because if I would do that, it would just encourage me to paint in a style I normally wouldn't. And it would probably take me out of the grim dark, stippling, whatever style that I would do normally, and follow Rock Hobbies style, because I just love an army of classic orcs. Maybe I'll do them in Evil Sons.
Red ones do go faster.
Yeah. Or Bad Moons.
I've always been a Bad Moons fan in terms of orcs, like the bright yellow show off. Because the Bad Moons, I don't know if it still applies, they're the richest orc clan because their teeth grow fastest.
Yeah.
So if you want to get rich, you find a Bad Moon, you knock him out, steal his teeth. Because they'll grow back.
Easy money.
Easy money. Easy money.
Easy teeth.
And so just the thought of the show-off orcs.
Yeah.
And the captain with the custom force field, the custom blaster, and all the toys. Or you can mix and match. You take your vehicles, paint them red. You take your ordinary troopers, paint them Goth style.
Just mix them up and make them as bright and contrasty as possible.
Yeah, and everything needs red on it.
Yes.
Right, whether it's red weapons, red detailing. That was the style.
Yeah.
The red period.
Now I'm tempted.
How have we just talked ourselves into doing like a second or third edition kit?
Yes, somehow. Just by looking up at the
Road Trader book, and it just called to us.
Yeah, it is calling to us. Just like the Green Goblin mask. Just talking to us like, yes, start a new army.
Yeah, sitting down for like an hour and a half and talking is really dangerous when it comes to the hobby, because you just have lots of ideas and bounce them off each other. Yes. Thanks a bunch, Ibrahim.
You're welcome. Welcome to my brain for a bit there. Just doing starting armies whenever I look at a random wall or something.
Yeah. That's why you should not read heresy books, because every time you read a new book, you get a new inspiration.
That's why I've held off reading any of the post Siege of Terra. I have not touched them because I knew if I did, that's just a whole new army.
Yeah, like I made a little 1,000-point Death Guard force because of Flight of the Eisenstein. Mm-hmm. I want to paint Lorgar because of First Heretic and Betrayer and No Fear.
Yeah.
I'm doing Space Wolves because of Prospero Burns.
Yeah.
Dan Abnett, damn you, and your writer school. I remember when Dan Abnett was just one of my favorite comic book writers, and now he's doing the damn novels.
Just followed him.
Exactly. He's followed me into what? No, go back to 2000 AD. That's where we left you.
Yeah, initially I wanted to do Loyalist World Eaters after this one.
I love the idea of Loyalist World.
It's so cool. Such the concept itself is awesome.
Like the honorable side before they go crazy.
When you read how they used to fight and their actual spirit and where they were before Angron, they were such a cool legion. The concept is awesome. From the Warhounds, it's just fighting in phalanxes, marching slowly against your enemies, arm to arm. Just no war cries, nothing. Just that was their style. Which is weird to think that World Eaters used to just hold shields and march slowly against whatever they were facing. Yeah. To the berserking rampagers. Reading that shift is heartbreaking, if anything. Going through the World Eater's story is...
I think from Angron and his legion it's when he arrives and how broken he is and how they try and emulate him to be closer to him, to know him better.
Yeah.
And that just takes them down the worst path. And you see the people trying to control it, the people who are just observing it. You look, what does Khan think about it? What does Latara Saren think about it? What does Lork think about it when he gets woken up? All these characters and more, and you just see this descent. And once they start, it was doomed from the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's super tragic.
Yeah.
The Thousand Sons are super tragic. Fulgrim himself and the legion that follows him is tragic. Night Lords were always going to be tragic.
Yeah. Looking at all the traitors and how they fell. Even now I think about the Night Lords. Poor man, it's just curse. Seeing his brother killed, not knowing what is happening, driving him insane, that kind of crazy, becoming a pure nihilist because he saw the future as set.
Yeah, he
But-
and Sanguinius. Nothing
Yeah.
matters versus nothing matters.
Yeah,
How do you
exactly.
pick?
The different ends of nothing matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weirdly, the only one that turns that doesn't quite make sense is Horus himself,
Yeah.
just because of the rushing the series.
Yeah.
And we'll do it in 3 books
Yeah.
because we're only going to write 10 of them. And go, if you could have done that in 8 books, and it would have been so epic.
Because because I think it falls between the lines, like why he fell. And at some point you can, like, even before the blade, even before the anathema and anathema, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, for me.
Anathema, whatever.
I've only ever read the word. It's one of those things that you read and then pronounce it in your head, and then when you have to say it out loud, you go, anathema?
Yeah,
Anathema?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The blade that killed him, basically.
The blade that is based on the word anathema is pushes him further over the edge than it should do. So you have to take the little bit of build-up of him going, well, I don't. The Emperor, that's a bit not on.
Yeah.
Get stabbed. I hate him. I'm gonna
But
there's just too fast.
It was inevitable, but as you said, it just accelerates it way faster. I think he would be more like, you could sympathize with his side way more, because he was with the idea of humanity, diplomacy, talking, rather than just, you won't join us, okay, let's kill you all. Like, he didn't, like, when he did that with the spoilers, if you haven't read the book,
spoilers for a 20-year-old book series that's the foundation of playing Heresy,
of this almost existence of this podcast, I guess. But yeah,
the Interrex, I think.
Interrex, yes. His whole approach was, he didn't want to fight them. Like, they were allied with aliens. The usual protocols, just, allied with aliens, kill them all. And then they almost told them about chaos. And then, of course, world bearers being world bearers and Erebus being Erebus.
Yep.
But that could be easily, like, you could see the Emperor, okay, sure, he's rushing through it for his own reasons that he didn't tell anyone. But Horus had a point at some point, like, if you really read into it.
He just
and then he was
collect enough.
I'm evil for being evil. Like, that's...
Didn't collect enough Warhammers.
It wasn't the Horus Heresy.
Horse, Horus, or Horus. Take your pick.
The horse.
We accept them all.
The Horus Heresy. It's the end game.
Nay.
Nay.
Although, speaking of endgame, I think that's the full gamut of what we were going to talk about for episode 2. So, thank you very much for listening to what we've come along. If visiting the Meelas sounds like your kind of thing, drop us a DM on Instagram at our profile ad.wargaming. And you can find us in the next episode of the Meelas Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as they say. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and even audio only on YouTube. And we're going to attempt to increase the viewer experience for YouTube. Not with any actual video, but not just the logo and us talking over it. So look out for that if you're on YouTube. And thank you very much, Ibrahim, for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Inshallah. And don't forget to start new armies.
In every system.
In every system.